You catch your reflection in a shop window, and for a split second, you pause. You feel exactly the same inside, but somehow the world has started looking right past you. Who would look at me now, you wonder? It's a question most women carry and never say out loud. It isn't in your head. There are 6 real psychological reasons this happens after 50. And today, we're going through all 6, plus one mindset shift from an 80-year Harvard study that changes how the whole thing feels. Let's start with the simplest one. Our faces change before we're ready for them to. The color leaves your hair before the gray does. Eyebrows soften, lines settle in around the eyes. It can feel like fading a little at a time. Aging and self-perception research shows this shift often happens gradually enough that the mirror stops matching the person you feel like inside. Add menopause on top of that, and it goes well past hair and eyebrows. You can look in the mirror one morning and barely recognize the woman looking back. Nothing is wrong. So much just changed at once. That gap between the two is disorienting in a very ordinary, unremarkable way. Noticing it is simply honest. Wear the color anyway. Do the thing that makes you feel like you today, not once the mirror agrees with you again. There's a small practice some therapists use for exactly this moment, sometimes called the neutral glance. Next time you catch your reflection, catch the urge to critique or look away too. Pause 3 seconds. Look yourself in the eyes and give a simple, quiet nod. You're not judging the lines or the gray. You're just acknowledging, I see you, and we're still here. Here's one that feels backwards. You'd expect a woman to grow calmer and more content with age. So why does that calm read as invisible instead of confident? The positivity effect in aging is real. Older adults do grow calmer and better at letting small slights go. But a culture built on loud reactions reads quiet contentment as absence rather than peace. Your calm and disappearing are 2 different things entirely. Calm doesn't need to compete with noise for attention. That calm comes from real skill too. Emotion regulation research indicates older adults get measurably better at managing hard feelings, built through decades of practice. A genuine sense of humor about your own aging tends to handle stress better than gritted teeth ever did. There's a well-known finding behind all of it too, sometimes called the happiness curve. Well-being dips in the mid-40s on average, then climbs back up from around 50 onward, often higher than it was in your 20s. That's the actual data across decades of surveys, not just a hopeful guess. Statistically, one of the better stretches of your life is still ahead of you. If you've ever felt that exact shift, the invisible one, just type, I know that feeling, in the comments. You'll see fast you're far from the only one. I'd bet almost every one of you recognizes this next one. It has nothing to do with age. It has to do with the roles we build our whole identity around, whether that was a career or a household. Retirement identity research suggests people often build their sense of self around a job title or a role in the family. When that role changes, the mirror the world used to hold up for you changes too. Nobody asks, what do you do at parties the same way anymore? That question was doing more work than we realized. This goes well beyond careers. Plenty of women spent 30 years raising children and running a household, being the one everyone needed, and then found themselves alone in a suddenly quiet house. The role ends quietly, without anyone announcing it, and the silence afterward can feel like the loudest part. You notice it in the smallest, everyday moments. Standing in the grocery aisle, picking out dinner, and suddenly realizing that for 30 years you bought what everyone else preferred, and you're not even sure what your own favorite meal is anymore. Or looking at a free Saturday afternoon and realizing nobody is waiting on you to organize their day. It isn't just a schedule change. It's a sudden quiet where a whole crowd used to be. Losing either version can feel like losing a spotlight. Nothing about you actually changed. If nobody's asked what you do lately, ask yourself what you're curious about instead. That one's yours to answer. No invitation required. Let me say something plainly before we keep going. This is for women who still have things they want to do, who want to walk into a room with their head held high. If that's you, keep listening, because the next 3 reasons cut the deepest. Then there's one nobody warns you about. It happens at home. Long marriages, research indicates, often reach a point where couples feel they've said most of what they have to say to each other. So conversation quietly thins out. Grown children call less often or half listen when they do, and it can start to feel like you're talking into a room where nobody's listening back. Friendships thin out too, sometimes on their own, sometimes on purpose. A friend quietly lets you go, maybe teams up with someone else to make you feel small. I know of one woman whose closest friend of 20 years simply stopped including her, one invitation at a time, until she found out about a whole birthday dinner from a photo online. No explanation ever came, just silence and a group chat she was no longer part of. And where you used to call a friend to ask what she thought about something, it's easier now to ask a chatbot. Nobody decided to replace people. It just happened, one convenient shortcut at a time. You didn't run out of things to say. The people closest to you got busy, or got replaced without anyone quite deciding to. Reach out to one person this week, first, before you wait for them to. This one might make you a little angry, and it should. It's about who gets to take up space in a room. Social visibility research confirms younger adults generally get asked more questions and interrupted less in group settings. Age changes this. Gender changes this even more. Watch the news. A young woman paired with an older man, treated as the wise, authoritative one. Older women sit at the exact place where both patterns stack. Neither one was ever about your worth. Look closely at how older women get represented too. Most of the time, it's the polished version. Hair and makeup done, camera ready, nothing like an actual Tuesday morning. Real representation looks like an ordinary face, no filter, saying, "This is what 50 or 60 actually looks like." That version is rarer than it should be, and it matters more. And if part of you worries this means romance is over, the research says the opposite. Romantic satisfaction later in life often climbs once the daily grind of raising a family eases off, for long marriages and for women on their own alike. Both are simply true. The one I think about the most is this. Somewhere along the way, we stopped introducing ourselves by what we were curious about. We started introducing ourselves by what we did for other people. Purpose and longevity research points to something real here. A sense of purpose, separate from caretaking roles, is one of the strongest predictors of a long, healthy life after 50. I heard from a woman once who said she's waiting to wear nice clothes again once she loses the weight. She's been waiting 4 years. If nobody has asked what you're curious about lately, you can still ask yourself. That question was never retired, even if the job was. One thing flips all of this on its head. Crystallized intelligence, the kind built from decades of actually living, keeps growing well past 50. long after some of the faster, flashier kinds of thinking start to slow down. You are the fullest you have ever been. The culture is simply bad at noticing that particular kind of full. Some of this is simply real, outside anyone's control. Before we get to what helps, one quick thing. Some of you are relieved men don't look at you the same way anymore. Fair enough. But I mean something else by being seen. I mean being acknowledged, remembered when you leave the room. So what actually helps? A few small things, not a full overhaul. Wear the thing you've been saving. Do your hair. Wear the lipstick if that's your thing. This is a form of self-respect, the same as standing tall or speaking directly instead of apologizing your way through a sentence. On that note, a public speaking coach once pointed out something he noticed specifically in women. Standing with weight tipped onto one leg, arms crossed, making themselves smaller without realizing it. It reads as uncertain, even when you feel anything but. Planting both feet, shoulders back and easy, takes 10 seconds to practice in front of a mirror, and it changes how a room responds to you before you say a word. Join one thing: a cooking class, a book club, a weekly art discussion group online, something built around a subject you actually like. Depth matters more than size here, too. There's a study that's been running since 1938, the longest study on adult life ever done. Harvard tracked hundreds of men and later their families for over 80 years, and one finding stood above every other. The people who stayed healthiest and happiest into old age were the ones with a small number of relationships they could actually count on, not the ones with the most money, fame, or attention. 3 people who'd actually show up for you matter more than 300 who'd just like a photo. Get out into the world sometimes, in person, not only online. Notice who you spend time with. Some people lift you up. Some people quietly drain you. Choose which ones stay close. I heard about a woman, divorced more than 25 years, living with an illness that keeps her home some days. She's genuinely alone, she said, emotionally and geographically both. The kind of alone that happens when nobody reaches out first. And I heard about a widow who lost her husband after a long illness. 10 days later, her first move was a haircut, a look through her closet, and lunch invitations to the other widows in her town. She did it so they'd know she still saw them. Grief research backs this up. Many women who lose a spouse later in life go on to build real, new connections again, sometimes romantic, more often close friendships, even when that feels impossible in the first weeks. That's the whole action step, really. Let being seen start with you, seeing someone else first. One more small practice, and it changes more than you'd expect. Next time you're checking out at the grocery store or ordering a coffee, make eye contact, smile, and say a real thank you, using their name if they're wearing a badge. Invisibility shrinks the moment you initiate the connection first. People remember who made them feel acknowledged. I am 58, almost 60, and living every bit of this shift right alongside you. Neuroplasticity research confirms the brain keeps forming new pathways well into old age, which is really just a fancy way of saying you can still learn something completely new at any point and actually get good at it. This year, for the first time in my life, I signed up for a pottery class. My first bowl collapsed twice. My second one is lopsided, and I still love it. I plan to talk about all of it here, the parts that go well and the parts that don't. That's part of why I'm showing you the wobbly bowl instead of hiding it. Putting the real version out there matters, and it's exactly what I want for you too, in your own way. When it feels like nobody wants to hear what you've been through, you don't have to wait for someone to ask. Write it down yourself, plainly, and put it out there. That is usually how you find the other people who feel just as invisible. And they tell you back the 2 words you needed. I see you. I hear you. If any of these 6 reasons landed for you, tell me which one in the comments. Or just comment the word seen. That's exactly what I mean. So the next woman scrolling through knows she's not the only one. And if you want to keep rediscovering who you are after 50 with me, stay close. There is a lot more of this coming.